Welcome, everybody, to the WanderLearn podcast. I'm here with Rejoice Tapon. How are you, Rejoice?
I'm doing good.
So you have just done a big step. What have you done?
I joined the United States Navy.
We're going to get into why you did that and what the process was. So start with step one. Why the United States military to begin with? Why did you not just work in the civilian world, or what were you thinking?
I have just finished my GED, I think, and I was just thinking of what I would do with my life. And then I'm like, what if I join the military? Because I have watched a lot of military movies and I just find them to be fascinating people. They're very disciplined, especially the Marine. They have this perfectly ironed uniform, they're just so elegant in it, and so I'm like, maybe I should start by doing that. I know in my life someday I want to be a nurse, like have the highest degree in nursing, but I just told myself, what if I start by going to the military first and get that discipline, then I will proceed to wherever it is that I want to go in life.
Branch, because she ended up going to all the military branches except for the Coast Guard and the Space Force. Space Force didn't exist at the time, and the Coast Guard, well, that's just too scary to begin with. But so what was the first branch you went to?
I went to the Marines. You and I, we stepped into the Marine office, and then they gave me the PICAT test?
It was a micro ASVAB test to give you. ASVAB is like the SAT or the standardized test the military asks everybody in the military to take to determine how good you are academically and that kind of stuff. And so and to kind of see what kind of jobs you could potentially do, because depending on your scores, that will determine. So when you go into a recruiting station, they might give you this micro ASVAB that took about less than an hour, and you ended up getting like a score of 45 or something like that, which is passing. But the bottom line is you went there and you did a decent score. But then what did you discover about the Marines?
I want to be in the in the medical fields. That's the only thing that the Marine has limit on. Like, I want to work either in a hospital, somewhere where I can have my hands on people and caring for them. And then the Marine didn't have that. That was the only reason why I decided to check out all the other branches after I couldn't find medical field in the Marines.
Right. And then, so after the Marines, the next step was going to the Air Force.
Yeah, after the Marines, I went to the Air Force. It was nice and cushy. They have all the promises of a good life. Well, I just felt like it's too soft and too cushy for me. It's not what I wanted. I wanted something like a little bit hardcore.
Right.
I could be in the Air Force. I think I qualify. My scores qualify, but it's just like, it's just too soft, too girly. There's
a comic strip that shows off the different branches of the military or the different units, and the Army guy is suffering there and saying, "This sucks," and then the Ranger guy's like,
go ahead, I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but then I remember the Special Forces guy's like, "I wish this could suck more," and then the guy flying in a plane looks down and says, "Oh, it sure sucks down there," and then finally the Air Force guy sitting on his couch in his room watching television, he's like, "What? The cable's out? This sucks."
Yeah, so that's the only reason. The Air Force, it's like they have the college. I think they automatically, everybody has to go to college for some reason.
Yeah, the community college.
Yeah, community college. It's very nice, and I think also get the medical fields there too, but it's just like I wasn't in love with it.
The main problem though actually with the Air Force was the fact that there's very few people, only the people who score super high on the ASVAB, generally speaking, get to know what their job will be before they enlist. Most of the time when you join the Air Force, they will give you a general idea of what you are, and it's a very vague idea. So they have different categories, I think around 4 or 5 different categories, and they're pretty broad categories. And so you could end up being in the medical field of if you go as a generalist in the general category, but you could also do, I don't know, maybe being a cook in the same category. The Marines, though, they did give you options, actual jobs that you could go. So that's why we did not pick the Air Force. The Air Force could not promise you without a doubt that you could get a medical job in the Air Force. They could not promise you. You go to boot camp, and you don't really know your job until after boot camp for the Air Force, with few exceptions. There are a few cases where they can lock you in, but you may not want to expect that. Okay, so the third category, then we went to the
Army.
And that took for many months. And as you can see from the thing behind us and my shirt and everything, that was Rejoice's, she was totally gung-ho for that.
Yeah, I took the ASVAB with the Army. I did my MEPS medical checkup with them, everything. But
do you remember your ASVAB score?
56 or something 56, like
okay,
that.
Yeah, which is 56. A good score.
But
the maximum is 99. The passing score I think you need is 30.
Yeah, so I got that, but I remember my recruiter saying, just give us your ASVAB score and then we're going to give you the job that you want. We don't it's going to take a while, but we're going to get you a medical job. So then I drafted out the type of jobs that I am interested in, even the ones that is like plan A, plan B, plan C. I gave it to them. I gave them the ASVAB score. I qualify for a good amount of job, medical, and then I just kept waiting for them. After waiting for many months, he gave me an ultimatum. He said that it's either I take the jobs that they have now, or he's just going to discharge me in a month.
He's got to take you out of the system.
He's going to take me out of the system, and he hasn't given me the job that he promised, or like he said he would be able to get me. And he kept telling me that this job will never come, especially now that there's elections coming. If Biden wins, the military will be downsized and things like that.
And he also mentioned that the COVID, everybody's unemployed, and everybody wants these jobs, and they're very popular. By the way, a lot of recruiters will, no matter what job you want, whether you say, I really want to be a dishwasher, that's my ambition. Oh boy, that's a tough one. There's a lot of people who want to be dishwashers out there. We're going to have to work really hard to find that kind of job. No matter what fucking job you want, you're going to have to expect that the military recruiter is going to say that's a really hard job and you should be grateful that we got you any job and take whatever we give you and that kind of stuff. That's the line they're going to give you. And although sometimes that might be right, especially if you have a very low ASVAB score. But a lot of times if you're just patience, you will eventually get a job that you should be pretty happy with. And try to wait them out. Wait them out. You have the advantage as long as you're waiting.
Yeah, I think if I had kept waiting, by now I could have gotten a really decent job in the military.
In the army.
In the army. I didn't wait long enough because I felt like, it's either I take these jobs that I don't really like.
Which is what? What were they offering you? They offered you a truck driver?
They offered me a truck driver. They offered me radiologic, biological, something like that. That has
chemical and nuclear waste disposal, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and
where you have to wear those hazmat suits.
Hazmat suit, yeah. They offered me it's not a bad job, but it's like for my future goal, they don't align very well. I could do them and I don't think I will be miserable, but it's just then what, after I am ready to be like what I want to be, those skills that I acquire from biological, radiological, or water purifying, it's not really going to fall into that space that I want to go. So
there was a carpentry job at one point.
Yeah, there was a carpentry job. I could do that, but then what? So I didn't take that one and finally decided, let me just go to the Navy. I didn't go to the Navy from the beginning because I thought that Navy, they have to do with swimming. And that was one thing that I just didn't want to deal with, the swimming part of it.
Because you're from the Sahara Desert, and the Sahara Desert doesn't have a whole lot of water, if you might have figured. So swimming is not in their culture.
Yeah, so I just went to the Navy. I was very skeptical. I showed up. I'm like, Francis literally have to drag me to the office, actually. There was a heated argument. I don't want to go. So basically, I was like, yeah, fine. I arrived like a zombie. I was just sitting down and he did all the talking. And they're like, we can guarantee her a medical job. He's like, you have to be sure it's medical job or nothing. She's not going to do anything else. They're like, because he knows that I really don't want to be there, so they have to really make me an offer I cannot refuse.
Right.
And so they did that. They gave me that offer. I cannot refuse. They gave me an HM job. They even gave me an HM with the rating, right? You say rating with the specialty HMDA. Like some people are afraid when you go to the Navy that you don't actually know what you're doing until you finish boot camp. But when I arrived, they gave me a job that I already know that I will be HMDA. But I was picky because I'm still thinking about the swimming part. I told myself, well, maybe I should be picky. In that case, if they don't have what I want, then they will just say, okay, well, sorry, we don't have it. Then I don't have to go with the Navy. But anyway, they gave me something else, even better. So I stayed with the Navy.
Right. And so HMDA is a dental assistant. So HM is the category, or what they call the rate, which is like a job that is a very huge, widespread job that allows you to do all sorts of medical related stuff. You could be a combat medic, you could work in a hospital, you could work side by side with the Marines, you could be on a ship, you could be on land, who knows? It's all sorts of stuff that could be medical related. You could work in a pharmacy, I mean, on and on. So it's the broadest of broad categories you can find anywhere in the military. That's very different than the Army. The Army already specializes you quite early on before you even enlist. They tell you the job. And by the way, that's the thing, the Army will make a big deal about you will be guaranteed a certain MOS, which is what a job is called in the Army. And it's true, but that's still provided that you actually pass whatever qualifications that you have to go through in order to get that thing. So for example, they might give you a 68 Charlie or 68 Whiskey, which are combat medics and kind of a nursing assistant. But if you don't pass the school and all the tests that they give you, you're not going to get that job, obviously. They're going to reassign you and you might have to become that truck driver, and you may not want to be. So be careful when any recruiter says, I'm promising or guaranteeing you this job. That's contingent, first of all, that you pass the test. And by the way, then there's always the possibility that, for example, a war could erupt and all of a sudden the military says, no, we really need you over here instead. They have that right to do that. So be careful about how guaranteed the job is, but in general, it is fairly certain, especially with every branch except for the Air Force. I think the best branch for that is the Army. They're the most specific. And then after that is probably the Navy and the Marines. And then last is, I would say, Air Force regarding that. I can't say anything about Space Force, but I think Space Force is like the Air Force. So any advice, like who do you think should join which branch? Like if you're this type of person, go here. If you're this type of person, go there.
I really don't know what type of person should join what branch. I think you can join any branch, but you just have to, if you're going to join the military, whichever branch is going to be, just start getting in shape. Like we do DEP meetings, a delay entry program. We go twice every month. And there are people who show at that DEP meeting, honest to God, we just do this jogging. It's like less than a mile jogging. I want to do like 3 miles and serious jogging, but because of there's these people who cannot do even like 1.5, we do less than a mile just from the office to a park just nearby. And by the time we arrive, they are really panting and looking pathetic. Like you're in the military, like you didn't just join. You have joined and I have seen you for at least a month. What the fuck are you doing? Why aren't you exercising? For 1 month, I've seen you twice. And each time I see them, it's the same thing. They cannot run. Okay, if you cannot run, can you do plank? There was a boy who is next to me. He cannot do even a minute of plank. That's a boy.
No, but that same guy, he couldn't even do one fucking sit-up.
Yeah, now time for sit-up. Okay. I said, you cannot run, you cannot do plank, can you do a sit-up? Honest to God, he could not do one proper sit-up. I was holding down his leg. He was my partner. I was partnered with him. He hold my legs, I do mine. Time for me to hold his leg. He could not, even though I'm giving him the power, the strength to use my power to pull himself up to do the proper sit-ups. He couldn't do it. And of course, you cannot say, "What the fuck are you doing at home?" or anything. I didn't say anything like that, but he sensed that everybody was at least disappointed in him. I mean, I have seen him like this is like the second time, so it has been a month, and he cannot do one sit up, he cannot do run, he cannot do the planks. How many push-ups can you do? I'm a girl, I did more push-ups than him. Like, what, really? And you want to go to the Navy? It doesn't matter which one you're going to do. You're representing this country. The greatness of the military is that, yeah, they can do whatever. They're the strong people who were proud of. They can go everywhere and kick ass and defend us. But if you cannot even do the basic layman thing, then it's like, I was ashamed to go exercise with this type of people, because like, exercise is not expensive. You can go out and do it yourself, and you can watch YouTube video and get yourself how to do planks. I never pay a trainer or anything, and it's just shameful when you arrive and you just cannot do the basic things, and it's annoying. If I'm the recruiter or whatever, I'm just gonna kick your ass, really.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think a lot of people struggle with is like deciding which branch, and I'm not sure what the best idea is, but I will tell you this: a lot of recruiters kind of really want you to marry their branch. Like they don't understand sometimes that you're like, I want to be a computer scientist. That's my thing. I want to get involved in computers. And you don't give a fuck whether you're doing computers for the Air Force or for the Navy or for the Army. They all do computers. They all have computer type jobs. So you just want that because that's your intended career field to be. Or it could be maybe you just want to fly planes. Maybe that's your big goal. You want to fly. Well, you could fly in the Navy, you could fly in the Army, you can fly in the Air Force. They all, and the Marines also have a flying component. And sometimes it's very frustrating because the recruiter wants you to just love their branch above all others. And I'm like, dude, I'm here for my career. I love the U.S. military in a general category, but I'm not, and that's why, we have, even though she's in the Navy, we have this Army and Army shirt because, hey, it's all one fucking team. We're the same team, guys. This episode is sponsored by the Athletic Brewing Company, which makes yummy non-alcoholic beer. Now, before you disparage non-alcoholic beer, consider this. During the 2020 International Beer Challenge, the Athletic Brewing Company won Brewer of the Year for North America, and they only make non-alcoholic beer. Enjoy the refreshing taste of craft beer without the alcohol or the hangover or the beer belly. Last year, Athletic Brewing donated over $300,000 to trail restoration projects. With Athletic Brewing, you can even drink and drive. When the cop pulls you over for driving too slowly, you can say, "Dude, I was just chilling, drinking beer." Non-alcoholic beer, that is. Although you can't order beer by mail, you can order non-alcoholic beer by mail. So go to athleticbrewing.com, use the promo code WanderLearn20 to get 20% off your first order. Buy at least 2 6-packs so you can get free shipping. That's WanderLearn20 with no spaces to get 20% off. Battery ran out, so I'm just going to fill in the blanks here and tell you that Rejoice is leaving on January 26, 2021. That's when she's going to be her ship date to boot camp. Boot camp lasts about 2 months, but there's a 15-day quarantine period that she's going to have to go through, about 2 weeks. And then after that, she's going to be going to what's called A school. So after boot camp, many people in the Navy go off to A school, which is basically like an advanced school. In the Army, they call that AIT, Advanced Individual Training. In the Navy, they call it A school. I don't know what they call it in the other branches, but the idea is that to do your job, you probably need specific training. Boot camp or basic training is just the general thing that everybody has to learn and know. And that can last anywhere from 2 months to, I think, 3 months or so for the Marines is the longest. Then you specialize. And in the Navy, she's going as a corpsman, which is that HM rating, which means that she's going to go through 5 months of training. 5 months. That's going to put her into like September time frame of 2021. And then she has possibly the option to go on to what's called C school. Now, don't ask me why there's no B school, but it goes from A school to C school. And that's even further specialization. So that's if she wants to go to urology, for example, or be a surgical technician, or she wants to be a cardiovascular person, or if you want to join the Marines, by the way, as a corpsman, so you want to be a combat medic, you'll need to go to FMTB, which is a field training medical battalion within the Marines. So the bottom line is, one of the great things that the military gives you is a lot of hands-on, real-life training. And that's one of the things that really appealed to Rejoice, and one of the reasons why she decided to go this, because in the end, she wants to apply to nursing school. Well, her application is going to look so much better if she has real-world experience, real-world training, and clinical hours in a hospital. That kind of stuff will really help her application and make her a strong candidate. And to top it off, she's getting paid for it. How good is that? So getting housing, you're getting food and benefits, etc. So after all that training, which could take up to a year, all of 2021, she could be in school learning. Then the Navy will deploy her or ship her to a certain location as a permanent base. And usually that's 2 years. And that could be, let's say, in Virginia, could be internationally, could be in Japan. And then she's going to be stationed normally in a hospital for 2 years. Although if she went to the Marines, then she would deploy with the Marines. And then you get assigned another 2 years. So the first 2 years after boot camp, you're probably not going to be on a ship, as even in the Navy. So she doesn't expect to be on a ship. Maybe the last 2 years, she, by the way, signed a 5-year contract. So maybe the last 2 years, she will do a ship deployment. So there you have it. About 1 year of training, 2 years in a hospital, and possibly the last 2 years on a ship, possibly. And again, these are all possibilities. We really don't know. Don't ask me where, when, and how, and all that good stuff. And for those of you who are saying, well, what are you going to do, Francis? Well, for these 9 months of training, since she can't even see me, she's basically locked up, I'm going to probably try to travel. That's what I'm going to try to do, and write my book at the same time, which is usually not a good idea. So that's my general idea. I just did 500 calories today. So where am I going to travel? Maybe go to the Middle East, Pakistan, or all the way out to Israel, somewhere in that zone between Pakistan and Israel and all the stans and the Gulf states. Maybe go there, or maybe go back to Africa and finish my book there and just find myself a really secluded community and has really crappy internet, and then I can actually be quite productive there and live very inexpensively. So we'll see. Those are some of the options. If you like this content about the military, this is our first time we've ever done it. I learned quite a bit. If you want more of that, make a comment, send me an email at ft@francistapon.com, and share this video. Hit the like and subscribe and all that good stuff. You know the drill. Thank you again. And thank you to my patrons at patreon.com/ftapon. You guys make this all possible. And that concludes this episode of the WanderLearn podcast, where we explore travel, technology, and transformation. If you'd like to see the show notes with links to what we talked about, or if you'd like to comment on the show, or if you'd like to ask me a question, then go to WanderLearn.com and click on this episode. If you'd like to connect with me, just remember ftapon. That's my first initial and my last name. ftapon is the username I use on all social media. You can also get to my website by going to ftapon.com. And here's one last reason to remember ftapon. If you like what I do and would like to get rewarded for supporting my projects, then go to patreon.com/ftapon. That's where you can pick up some remarkable rewards for as little as $2 a month. And now for 5 quick favors. Number 1, subscribe to the WanderLearn podcast. 2, download it. 3, share it. 4, review it somewhere. And 5, sign up for my newsletter at WanderLearn.com. Our theme music was composed by Eric Stratman. This is Francis Tapon, encouraging you to wander and learn.